Okay, it looks like there are individuals still joining the meeting, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started anyway. If there's any questions, just go ahead and throw them in chat. And I have a William here who's on our sales team. He'll jump in and scream at me if there's a bunch of stuff. But this is a little bit informal, if you will, but there's a lot of folks. So just help me a little bit here because it can get a little confusing, especially in these larger webinars. So today, basically, the thought for today's webinar happened earlier this year when we started looking at all the stuff we were doing throughout the year and rolling out. There's a lot of new features we've been talking about, and just it gets kind of lost in uh, all the new features that there's just a lot of work going on the basic transactions, the core transaction side of OASIS. And that's true for the desktop version, but also true for the online version of OASIS. So we continue to enhance it. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of enhancements going on actually this week for the online version. Long story there, but the main thing is we wanted to show you what we've been working on. Okay, so for today, our goal is I'll run through the agenda. That's this part right here. Talk a little bit about the quotes, the order system inside of online only. We will be pulling up the desktop version, invoices, payments, and then talk a little bit about what's next just in this area. There's a lot of new features we're rolling out, especially after the first of the year. We're just end of year. Nobody really wants to hear about new stuff. They want to do end of year reporting and all the other stuff. So anyway, that's kind of the focus for today is how all this works. All right, so agenda really is quotes. There's some of the common features. I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. Normally, when I'm doing a training, when I'm on site with somebody, even a follow-up training, this is a day's worth of material, at least. So 1 hour, I'm going to force myself to run through, again, ask questions, and I'll do some follow-ups on it. But I do want to go through some common features and show you a little bit about what's going on in quotes. It is full featured. It does pretty much everything the desktop version does, and that's a lot. And anyway, I'll show you pieces of it. Same for orders. I'm going to focus just on commissioned orders today. That's largely, again, due to time constraint here. We do implement the resale side of the house. All that's in the online version as well. And same for invoices when it comes to commission invoices, customer side invoices, vendor invoices, and so forth. They're all in there. Okay. See here. Okay. And then payments, I'm just going to receive a commission check and keep it simple there. And again, we can do pretty much everything you expect on that as well. More when we get there. All right. Quotes, full featured. So I'll just read the deal and then we'll go through all the show and tell of it. So the bill of material, commissioned overage and resale, we do all of it very similar to what we do inside of the desktop version. The goal is to be able to move between the two systems and not have to get a whole bunch of training is really the thought. The context coloring is all in there with hovering, pricing subsystems, configuration integration with factories, and so on and so forth. It's all in there, and I'll touch on pieces of it. But I'm trying to keep myself honest with at least these. Customer tracking, we'll go through a little bit of customer tracking. I can't actually send a quote. I messed up my token with Office 365, but I can actually go through the process and download it and show you it works pretty much the same way. Attachments work just like they would do on the desktop. So they're all in there. You can add them on the online version. They'll show up on the desktop version. You add them on the desktop version. They show up on the online version. All that works just pretty much the same as the desktop version of OASIS. All right, let's quit talking about it. Let's show some things. So this is after the login. This is the home screen, if you will, for the online version of OASIS. We use tiles instead of what you see on the desktop. Just a different way of looking at things. I'll go into projects. Now, one thing that is new that I do recommend, and I'm just going to point it and walk away because it's a new feature. I'm not supposed to be showing new features, but this little find over here, I really like it for trying to find existing projects. This is also exists on the desktop version of OASIS if you have the online servers, access to the online servers, because it does an index search against your database. And it's a neat way to find out if you've done a webinar. So just do a search and it'll hit all the little tests and everything I've been doing here. So course, that server's probably busy. There we go. So anyway, it does a nice search. It also has a little bit of a linguistic component to it, so it works a little bit, I think, better than a lot of the other searches we have in there. But anyway, there you go. So I have been doing a little bit of testing this morning. Getting a little nervous trying with a lot of folks that were going to attend. But anyway, let me go ahead and create a brand new project. So File, New Project. And by the way, I did do this over the weekend on my iPad. Works pretty good there. The phone, we have some things on the smaller form factor that we're going to roll out in time that'll make it even easier on the phone. But worked pretty good on the desk my iPad and just creating a quote from nothing. So let's call this a webinar. 25, 18, nope, 11, 18. A. All right. So in case we create another one. All the fields you would expect are here. So I have a location, state or province out there, who the owner is, spec registration, national account, all the features that you'd expect inside of OASIS on the desktop, they exist here. They just are spread around a little bit differently because of the way the browser works. I'll go next, and immediately it's, well, what's the starting date? When's it bid? I'll just leave it for today, I guess. Vertical markets, they're all in there as well. You can do your square footage calculations, the whole bit. It is pretty much the same. One thing we don't do right now that I'm trying to get them to change is I don't pre-assign who the quoter is. It should immediately identify me because I'm a quoter in this system. So that's one of the little things we're working on is just little um, niceties inside the system. We're trying to make them as close as we can to the desktop version, and especially when it makes sense. So next. All right, I click next. All right, all the specifiers are in there as well. We'll probably play with this screen a little bit. It looks okay, but there's some things we can do better. So I think I have a Baker. I have no idea. He must be somebody for reals. But since nobody's assigned to this, it didn't pre-assign the user on here. I'll just pick myself, I guess. And it works pretty much the same. I can put in all my specifiers, track them here just as before. And by the way, this is one thing that is a little bit different between the desktop version and the online version is I'm creating a quote and it just walks me through this wizard where I have just various questions for it to ask. And by the way, this is where I'm at in that process of creating the quote. So again, a little bit different. Sales accounts set up, that's fine. Next, and then over here you can have your uh, user search tags. It gives you the ability to set up your own search tags to deal with processes or simply reporting inside of OASIS. At this point, we're at the end of our little wizard here, or a little set of questions to create a project. I hit create, and now it'll create the project and then dump me into the project. Now, things work a little bit different based upon whether you're a salesperson or whether you're flagged as a quoter. So I'm flagged as a quoter in the system, so I get dumped in bill of material of the quote, and it's ready to go. So, question there? Oop, not that question. All right. All right. So this is the quote bill of material. Now, let me back up a second. If you're used to the OASIS projects, you know that there's an overview and then different phases. So there's a set of tabs, if you will. The initial phase is where I'm at right now. It's a brand new project. There's only one phase. And I still have my general. This is the first tab of your quote. You have your conversations. This is new inside of the OASIS Online, and it's not available in the desktop version. It just allows me to communicate between team members about this project. I have attachments, and then I have the initial bid. And under here, I could create more bids. So initial bid, VE, final bid, or whatever. All those go in here as well. Now, I still have another row of items in here. So it's my items, my customers, my manufacturers, and notes. Okay. Now, anytime you just come to the initial bid, as I just did right there, this is one area where we're a little bit different. We don't assume that you're going to immediately start editing the bill of material. So we protect that bill of material. This is nice, especially if you're on an iPad and you're just bouncing in and out of projects, trying to get an assessment of what's going on, and you're not actually actively editing the quote. So we do force this read-only mode, and then you can click into this at any time, and it starts the edit process. Okay, so let's go ahead and just add in a couple items. So quantity 10, type A. I like using this RV, this test manufacturer. And if you notice, well, you can't see me. This is the hard part. I suppose I turn my camera, but I'm doing everything from the keyboard. pains me sometimes when I see people using the keyboard and the mouse. Of course, that's just me. If you want to use the mouse, you can click on the RV part. That's fine. But I'm going to stay on the keyboard for the most part. I'm going to hit the enter key, and I'm just rolling through the bill of material. So ABC is, and notice the price lists come in. So everything's set up here. Yeah, if you have your own prices lists that you manage inside of OASIS, they appear here. If you have connectivity with the manufacturer, in many cases, that's already been moved over to the OASIS Online. Not 100%. There's a couple of them where there's some older tech we're having to figure out, for lack of a better term. Works the same. I'm just using my keyboard, hit the enter key, and it went ahead and priced it all the way across. Okay. So 15 of these, I'll stay with RV. Now, SCL, I wanted to use this one real quick just to show a little bit about other connectivity we have with not only internally, but manufacturers. So this one has a configurator. I don't know if very many of you have seen these in the past, but I'm actually using what we call the quick configurator to go through and configure a catalog number just by using a setup inside of OASIS. This is true for the desktop version and the online version. Now, the other thing you can do is go to Tools, and there's a configurator, and it just shows our internal configurator, which walks you through the same process. So SCL42, okay. It needs a little bit of a cleanup as far as look because it's several years old now. And we'll do that. Fine. Hit OK. Anyway, you'll go and do all the updates and everything behind the scenes. All right. Now, if you happen to have a configurator with the manufacturers you work with, instead of launching our configurator to launch to theirs, you process it inside their system, hit the OASIS button, and come back and dump the catalog number and the pricing back inside your bill of material. So all that's in there. This is the online version. It works just the same as it does in the desktop version. Okay. Any questions out there? Okay. Looks like at least Rob was. Okay, got it. Sorry, I peeked myself a little bit. So we can go in and type in more material stuff. By the way, a lot of the creature features items, I call them creature features, probably not good, but I'll use the type A where I just copy down a catalog number and make it my A2, adjust the catalog number and move on. All that's in there works just the same as it does with the desktop version of OASIS. All right, so I have an item in there. Next thing I really need to do is add some customers. So let me add in a couple of distributors. We'll assume I have no ideas who all is in here. Hit apply. All right, good. And underneath the distributors, I'll go ahead and add in a contractor. So I got a couple of contractors, that one. By the way, everyone adds contractors to their distributors when they're sending them out on their website. Kind of a joke there. Many more and more people do that because it will start following who's working with whom, especially on the project. But that's how you do it. The drag and drop, the add distributor, the add contractor, the add count, all that's in there and works pretty much as you'd expect. Now, let's go ahead and just send out a quote. And again, my email is not working, which is making me real mad. And I just got to get on Microsoft and log in, really, but I didn't have enough time. So let me go ahead and do send. Okay. What always gets me on this is send instead of print now. So, all right now. Oh, my apply. He wanted to do an update first. So send. So, all right. So I'm going to send a customer quote. Again, the breakouts, the bill of material, office copy, spec registration form, and even the request for a quote is all built in. Today, I'll just send a quote or show you the quote and identify who I would like to send it to. So I'm going to do a select all, or I can do them individually. And based upon your counts, all those features are in there. I'll just do a real basic send right here, or just build up the quotes anyway. Next. Do you want to limit the manufacturers? This is pretty much the same features you have on the desktop version. Again, they're laid out a little bit differently, and there's this wizardy thing going on instead of the tabs. Pretty much the same thing. Same thing. I want to send to all the factories. It's just that one that's on there, so I won't do any limits. And it just has one option on there, what we call an anonymous option. It's basically I don't have options on my quote, so it assumes that there's just one on there. The anonymous is what we call. So that's a little different terminology. But if I'd actually put in, floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, those would appear here as options on my project. But I didn't do that this time. So, all right, next. Same features here. They're just laid out a little bit differently. I'm going to show unit price, extended price, and I could add in more features here as well. And just like in the desktop version of Oasis, it remembers what you normally put on the bill of materials. So if you select it here, it'll remember for next time. So I'm trying to say print options. Let me see if I'm missing anything. I think that'll work. And I'll go ahead and create my email. So here it has created 3 different emails, going to 3 different groups. And if you look real close down here, it says chain store, whatever that setup was. Looks like this is to Kasozi. Has got a gentleman that used to work here. He's got it all set up. And because customer 1. So they're all in here. So I get a bit of a preview. I can set up my emails. I can download a copy. Because I'm quoting contractors, I can, it's an option, by the way, where it'll have the quote to the distributor and they'll have one with varying counts based upon the different contractors on there. That's what it's trying to show here, where there's different variations of that. So let's download it. Ooh. I'm sorry. Incorrect. That's an O2O. It didn't have the contractor version. That's just the O2O we have turned on there. So O2O, if you haven't used that before, if I'm sending this to a distributor, they can drag that into their version of Oasis and it'll fill in the bill of material. Okay. And yeah, there you go. Looks like I didn't turn on my grand totals there. All right. I can't do a send. It'll give me an error. I'll just go and do that. But if you do try to send, notice it says failed, and then I get the little token error. Oh no, I gotta put a person in here. So normally, if you have everything set up, it found me. If you have everything set up, it'll go ahead and preload your customer in there. So that's another thing that's kind of nice. But it failed this time. Bad character. Oh, it's probably still complaining because I have my bad setup there. So it's call support on this one, but really it's just set up your email is all we're going to tell you. All right, so that is the project for the most part. We're sending it out. Let me go back to my projects. And in here it shows whatever search you've done previously. So I just had it on today. If you did the last 7 days or another search, it'll actually fire that automatically when you go back into projects. Just a little bit of a speed up there to help you not have to stare at a blank screen while you key in the next thing you'd like to look for. All right. So let's go ahead and go into my project. So we have all this bill of material here. Let's go ahead and create a submittal real quick. So I forgot to put submittals on the bill of material there, but or on the PowerPoint, but that is also in here. So I'll do a new submittal like. Pretty much the same thing. Instead of having tabs, though, we'll just kind of walk it through who the specifiers I want. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then the bill of material or the items I'd like to have on this middle. Let's go ahead and create it. Okay. Now, one thing that happens again in submittals like others. All right. One thing that does happen is when you're coming into a transaction, like on the quote, it puts you in this protect mode. To go into edit mode, you just simply click into it, and you can quickly see all the bill of material. The best way to tell that is if you have like a white green alteration back here, that tells you you're now editing the transaction. Okay, a couple of things happened here is it did pull this out of Folio, and if you're not familiar with Folio, it's basically a database that has a lot of manufacturers in it. I don't know if it has everybody because we find new ones all the time, but it also has pre-highlighted cut sheets in there. So they'll go ahead and pull in actually based on your catalog logic. So it'll move around basically what's going on in that catalog number. So that's ready to go. It found it in Folio. Now it also pulls from my local database. So this one, it didn't know what it was. It didn't exist in Folio, but I'd pulled it in previously. So it looks like some test thing I'd done in the past. But that will pull in from my local database. Again, allow you to blend stuff you may have access to, we don't have access to, or we have some of our users that liked going through and adding in annotations on there. So basically features that aren't on the standard cut sheet, just write-ins, usually what I call them, or basically masking over certain parts of the cut sheet where they're doing weird stuff, like with example catalog numbers. I know some people like doing that in OASIS, but totally up to you. This works pretty much the same way as on the desktop version. I can go and send it. The only thing that's a little different, and again, I can't send it today, I'll just pull it down, is it sends a link. So at that point, you can just, you don't have to worry about how to get it to the customer or anything like that. It is on the server. They get the email and they go ahead and pull it down from the server. So same thing here. If you say yes, it'll update the quote status from quoted to submitted. I'll go ahead and say yes, and it pulled or created the submittal. Go ahead and download it. It's a little faster doing this anyway. Don't have to wait for email. And pretty much as you'd expect, standard submittals. Okay. All right. So now let's go back into projects. Again, it did the search. I'm right back where I was on this A1 here. I'm back in my bill of material. I have customers already put in here. Let me go ahead and select a winning customer because I need to create orders. So I'll go ahead and say that the contractor, I'm going to identify not only the distributor, but the contractor that wins, and that updates all the downstream reports later that I can pull up. So more on that as we get into. More on that in another webinar, actually, because I want to go over a lot of the win-loss reporting in more depth than what we've done in the past. But this begins that process, so I can not only identify the win-loss hits for the distributor, but also the contractor in this case. All right, so we have a bill of material. We have customers. Let's go and create some POs. And create orders. Oh, uh-oh. I didn't hit save, I think. Let's go cancel. Oh, I didn't keep it. I think I may have found a bug. So William might let him know about that one. So take a note real quick. Let me go back. Not sure if this is part of it or not, but let me go ahead and do this. Do a quick little test here. I get to play with all the new stuff. And why is it not doing this? Well, all right. So, William, we have something to as they pop up. So, all right. So next, now outside the bug I just found, this works pretty much the same as you'd explained. So, or as you've seen in the desktop version. So the create PS4 allows me to identify who I'd like to identify on this. And then, so it's not only just the company, but also the individual that I'm sending it to. This is important, especially if you're trying to do the shipping emails. So that is also an option you can have on there, or the shipping portal, or order status portal. So if I identify the who, then if they log in, they can see their information, or they'll get an update each time the order has a shipping information updates on it. Okay, I'll go ahead and put in my PO number. So. Okay. And again, manufacturer quotes are in there, freight terms. I usually just leave it alone, which means or implies allowed, or I'm sorry, auto calculate. So it'll figure out what the freight terms are on the order. And if I meet freight, it'll go ahead and put that on the PO, or even upload that to the factory if you have connectivity. Okay. Now, one thing that is a little different here is little sliders instead of check boxes, but it works the same as on the desktop version in that I can identify whatever I'd like to pull over to the order this time. So I'll just pull them all over this time. So hit apply. And everything works the same, although it looks a little bit different, is do I want to change the quote status from submitted to ordered? I'll say sure. And I'll go and just do a full release. Don't have enough time to do a hold order and then a release and all the other details that I normally go through.
Hey,
Anything else?
Brian, we have a question in the chat. It
Okay.
says we can have the updates assigned to two people in the desktop version. Is there a way to assign a second contact for the auto update slash portal on the web version?
Quick answer is yes, and it works the same way. The you can do it one of two ways on there. If you have a scenario where you have a distributor, usually this is where I see this, where there's basically a salesperson and a inside person that need to get the email. I see some people cheat and they'll create a contact underneath the distributor that has both their emails with a comma between them on the email where you set up their email basically. The other option is if you have a contractor and a distributor and you want both those to get that, basically two different businesses, you go ahead and identify that individual on the contractor, make sure they're set up as a contractor, by the way, and then set up the distributor and that should go. So uh, I hope that made sense. If you've used the auto, the shipping updates and everything like that, that probably did most of it. If there are any other questions though, contact support because that is a common question we get.
And then we have one more, and it says integration slash specializations are not all working in O4 yet, correct? For example, current orders cannot be sent via O4, only emailed.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we're at today, and that is true. If there is a pop-up, in other words, if the factory wanted us to do something special just as the order was being sent, then most likely we don't have it in O4 because it's the pop-up that's the issue. It's not the connectivity. So you're correct. There, that is one of them. Not trying to point people here, but that was identified one of them that currently you can't send orders because of the pop-up. So, all right. Any other questions? Okay. Now, this is the order. It does look different. There's a lot of conversations going on right now on the team. So it's just kind of this weird circle here. The goal here is to add back in the totals, and they're arguing about what that's supposed to look like. So they did something weird. They put this little circle thing back in. But it's kind of neat. You'll see as we go forward and do some shipping and invoicing against this, you'll start updating this circle. And it's just kind of a nice quick view of what the order's at. If I cancel part of the order, this outer ring is the order and it'll start showing parts of it as red, saying, showing that it's been canceled. If it's on hold, then it'll actually segment the amount of the ring based on the amount that's on hold. Okay, and I believe it's dollar. Yeah, it's dollar amount. So had to think because there's a couple of things going on there. All right, so we'll get into that as we go forward here. Everything else is the same. The general information, everything's here. The manufacturer, the customer. By the way, I have weird customers in here. I should have picked someone else. That would be who would get the email. By the way, for usually the whoever the end customer is. Let's say distributor in this case. All right. Everything else is the same as you expect. And again, if the factory just pulls our information off and doesn't have this weird pop-up at the end, most likely the integration is done and they're ready to go through the online version of Oasis. All right. Sales accounts, specifier, and search tags, they're all in here. And I'll hit apply because I think I did some changes. By the way, you'll see apply occasionally. A lot of the system is changing a little bit based upon user feedback. But generally, if you see an apply button, that's kind of like a save or an apply, if you will. But a lot of it is updated immediately as soon as you click on something. And it's just a little different. It's kind of the way the web works. Based on some user feedback, we may change a few screens. So keep an eye out for the apply or keep an eye on the newsletters. We make those changes too. All right, conversations again is the new thing in online, and that's something I can't talk about today. All right, so here's the bill of material. So in true Oasis form, we have the original ones. We have a few extra ones down at the bottom. So if you get everything prepped up and you're ready to send it and they want to tack on a few more items, you can do that right down there at the bottom. But I haven't sent it to the factory yet. So I'm just reviewing, taking a look at the quantity, fixture type looks good, manufacturer catalog number, net price, overage sell, overage per, basically the split and so forth. By the way, we'll talk about inventory later. A few more details there. All right, everything looks good there. I like taking a look at my addresses. I got a bill to, sold to, shipped to. Let me see. Right, I'll call that good. And then alternate ship to address. All that's in there just as you'd expect. So I'm gonna call that good. By the way, address book. Let me do that. Let me see. Contractor. Oh, don't have any entry there. So that's what I get for having a blank database or a lot of other stuff. What I was trying to show there real quick is if you have the addresses put in properly for common locations, like with companies or owners or facilities, universities or whatever, go ahead and put those in because that allows you to do kind of what I was trying to show there. That is, it'll go ahead and fill in all the information associated with that common location you go to, university as an example. Our addresses work pretty much as you'd expect, but I have so many of them in there, I'm going to give up for today. But it'll go ahead and flow in your address so you can bring it to where you're at. So again, common features we have with the desktop version, they're just shown here in the online version. Hit apply. All right, so we have a bill of material, we have addresses, numbers look okay. So let me go and do let me see, send. I'm looking for print. That's the only thing that I don't like. I'm old school. I look for print, not send. All right, so
Brian, we have one more question,
go ahead.
and it says we cannot change the sales accounts and orders. How can we update it?
You can't change the sales counts and orders. Let me cancel. That should be. Yeah, they got this little thing here. By the way, that's the pop-up that you normally see for shoot. Ah, in the desktop version if you have order terms. All right, so I'm back over on sales accounts. That should be just changeable here. Oh, this is so right now the system is in auto mode. So it wants to pull everything from the specifier. And there are some settings in the system where you can turn that on or off. So one thing you can do is go ahead and say manual, and it's going to disable the automation on there. So confirm. And now I can have full control. So just go back and click on the manual button. And at that point, you can add sales accounts or adjust anything in here. All right. So we're back over on items here. And
The only way we're gonna do it, we're gonna go with UCAI because
let's go ahead and send it. And manufacture copy. And again, if I send this straight to factory, I hit email. But if I had the ability to send direct to the factory, that is an option in here, and it'll basically say send instead of email. Okay, so internal change, that's fine there. Print, and it'll just go ahead and do the updates like it normally would do. Now, one thing I didn't show too much is every time you do an update or inside the system, it will actually update the attachments. So every time I do an internal change or I send it to the factory or I do it a direct send, in other words, not an email, it does record information in the attachments just like the desktop version of OASIS. Okay. All right. So we send an order. Let's do one other thing that's real common in OASIS. Let's go ahead and track some shipping real quick. And let me go ahead and click on the shipping. I'm just going to pick one of them real quick and say that it's going to ship on the 28th. And I don't know, Arkansas. I guess I have codes in here, so I'll take my 100 code here. All right, good enough. Carrier, I don't know the carrier yet, it hasn't shipped. No, let me go ahead and put that. No, let me go ahead and say it shipped today. Yes, because I did want to show real quick. I wanted to go ahead and go back to the general tab. See items updated. Not sure exactly when they update the shipping ring on that. I think that worked. It's an actual. So we'll see it update as we go through the process here. But main thing is I show one of them shipped, and that'll also help me when I get over to the invoicing side. All right, so that's just real quick sending an order. Let's go ahead and adjust a little bit here and create a a quick little invoice. So file. Nope, I'm sorry. Go to invoices. Now I always show going to the invoice section and applying invoices. You can on the order to say create invoice. The reason why I go here is normally that happens as an email that comes in, or you get a list of invoices that you're trying to apply for a factory, or they auto download. We have more and more factories we're doing that with as well. So once I come over here, I'll go ahead and create my invoice. So this is the one I was playing with earlier. So I'll go ahead and do a new commissioned invoice. And by the way, everything else is pulled in as well. So we still have the commissioned invoices, uh, combined invoices. Basically, it's doing the customer facing and the vendor side, or you can do individual sell, basically customer facing or vendor facing invoices. All that's implemented and in there, ready to go. So let's go and do a new commission invoice. Manufacturer is still the test one that I'm working with here. The PO number is, oh, one thing I wanted to show. I get kind of carried away because the desktop version doesn't have this. So it does do a quick little lookup. I like it. I forget about it usually, but it allows me to real quickly just go and find that PO just by starting to type pieces of it. Again, you may have to type for a bit because some of these PO numbers get kind of long. All right, so what is the invoice number? Yeah, we'll do that.
Brian, we have another question.
Okay.
It says it's a follow-up from the previous one. It says we cannot send ship schedules, orders, quotes out of O4. We also do not have the manual button to adjust the sales account.
You don't have the manual button. We might want to talk to you direct because there's probably something else going on that I don't know if I can diagnose real quickly here. Um, uh, I tell you what, William, find out who that is, and let's just set up a call after the meeting to talk because the manual button should be there, and I don't know why you couldn't send a ship schedule. Huh.
Will do.
Okay. All right, let's do a create. Oh, I have an invoice like that already set. All right. All right. Same items here. The general tab again is laid out a little bit differently, but is the same information that's on the desktop version. So you see the PO number, the new invoice number, and the factory I'm working with. All right, and this will probably change a little bit, but that's the way we have it set up today. All right, let's go into items. The features work pretty much as before, but let me go ahead and just I'll do. I think. See. Uh, Let me see, tools, invoice all. Right, that'll work. All right, so just click the invoice all to go real quick on it. I was trying to do a couple other things in there that, let me see, got that. That's it. Sorry, I'm trying to remember all the details on the invoice. The bigger thing is it also married back that first line. That was the one I was trying to find. Is it found the shipping information and pulled it into that top line. So now they're kind of connected, if you will. Okay. The other thing you can do is add preferences here. So that is pretty much the same. We're going back to this style that's very common on the desktop version, and it just allows you to identify what the columns you'd like to see on the invoice, and the same for orders there as well. So, okay, that's it on invoices. There's not a whole lot to say, to identify there. So let me pull this. All right, let's go ahead and go back to my PowerPoint for a second because I've been kind of blowing through this. So quotes, we went through commissioned, overage, resale, context coloring. I didn't point that out, but you kind of saw the green text on top of various items in there. It does do the yellow highlights as well. Customer tracking, went through that, found a bug that I'm going to get to the developers there. Attachments, didn't show that, but it did show it on orders. So. And then submittals, I guess I did put it in here. We created from different bill of materials. Actually, we just focused on quotes today, but you can also do it from orders. You manually create submittals as well. And it does do a lot of the neat little cut sheet lookup just as we've done in the past. Okay. And then orders, we did pretty much everything in here. Commission, we didn't do resale on there. The bill of material, context coloring, I didn't point it out too much on there, but the pricing, I pretty much pulled everything from the quote, so there's not one whole lot to show. But it does do the drop down. It does call back to the factory or use your price list in there. Tracking shipping, we got to find out why the one group can't send tracking information. That's kind of interesting. And I'll go back to it in here and see what's been in.
So I'm having, I have a leak.
Okay, let's go back into.
Brian, we have one more question.
Okay.
Is there a way to grab all orders from a project and create a submittal? I've only had luck doing that from individual orders.
Okay, so you want to actually go back to the, I don't know if they've implemented on the online version, but shoot. By the way, I'm going to go to File, Edit Order, toss me over to Order. And then I'm going to go, by the way, it's starting to update this little dial thing. So I'm going to go File, Edit Quote, jump all the way to the quote. And if memory serves, File, New, Submittal Like, I don't know if they've implemented it here yet. From orders. So when you click from orders off of the project, that's the gotcha. So if you go into the project and do a new submittal like from orders, it scans the bill of materials from the orders as opposed to the bill of material from the quote. That's the little trick in the system. So you don't have to go to each order and create a submittal and then figure out how to join them back together. That will actually pull everything together from the created orders and create it from there. There's also another trick on this is if you have an order out there, let's say either an early sample order, usually doesn't happen quite that way, or just some other order that is associated with the project that you want as part of the O&Ms. You can go back in there and there is a process to link that order back to the project. Support can help you with that one. It's a pretty standard feature. And then because it's part of that quote, it'll find it as one of the orders and it'll link it back to the submittal bill of material with all the other ones that were created from the project. So anyway, said quite a bit there. That's standard desktop version, and it looks like they pulled it into the online version here as well. So give it a try. If you have any questions on that, definitely give support a call because we get that question pretty frequently. All right, let's go back into projects. I want to do this real quick because I almost forgot a couple of things in here. Let's go back in my project. Notice it's already starting to context color. I should have shown this just before I created the invoice because it'll show the brown lines for what is shipped. This has already been an invoice, so obviously it's shipped. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent the invoices. One theory we have in there, but it's all in there.
Brian, we have another question.
Okay. Okay.
Is there a way to go from an order to a quote and from the quote to an order?
Yeah. So I don't know if we can go from a quote to an order today on the online version. In the desktop version, you can go to the attachments and you'll have what we call the OASIS tree. We don't have that in the online version yet. It's kind of hard to do, but we are implementing it in the online version. Just haven't done it yet. But from the desktop version, you have the tree and double click on it and it'll open up the order. However, in both versions, if you're in an order, so let me go from my order here. You can go from the file and say edit quote. That bounces you back into the quote. Same for invoices. If I'm in the invoice, I can say edit order and it'll jump into the order. So pretty much inside of OASIS, you can jump from any transaction to any other, except for the online version right now, we don't have the OASIS tree so you can go to whatever order or submittal or whatever that's in the project. So that'll be in there as we go forward. So good question. Any other questions? I like these so far. Let's go back to the desktop version or back to the order real quick. Let me see, I want to show that. I'm going to do one thing real quick. Send customer shipping. I think they were saying that wasn't working. Huh. It did it. I don't know. So we got the order and last thing, let's go ahead and make sure got this. So tracking order, bill material, track shipping information, see what's been invoiced, inbound and outbound doc. I haven't added anything from the desktop, but pretty much you can take anything and drag and drop it into the attachments. So let me go back into orders. and go to attachments. So if I drag something in here, it'll actually upload into the attachments and be available for the desktop version and the online version. Same for this this little PDF that got generated automatically from the online version when I did the internal change inside of the OASIS order there. Okay, let me go back. And invoices, we've done everything except for the resale side of this. The only thing we need to do real fast is payments. No, this is actually left over from my previous webinar, so I didn't finish this out. My apologies. So I'm going to just show you payments here real quick. We do have an API, so you can call it and pull it out into other systems for reporting. So that was a previous webinar. I'm going to skip that for right now. My apologies. All right, so let's go back into payments and do a file, new, commission check. Again, what I was trying to hint at here, what was trying to go back to my notes for, is we have customer payments. So that's a resell inbound from a distributor, let's say, or whoever who you sold it to. Vendor payment. So if you sold them something through resale, you can also track the payment, usually for triggering the customer order, or I'm sorry, the customer invoice. But also, if you have commission inbound as well, it'll use you can use that payment to record the commission on that. So I'm sorry, that's commission check. The vendor payment, so the difference between the vendor payment and the commission check is the payment is you're paying the factory for that. So if you do a resale, you can track that you paid the $100 for the $200 item. The customer payment is you got paid the $200 from the distributor. Sorry. And then we do have the sample payment on here. I'm not a big fan of it, but it does allow you to basically take a commissioned order and pay the factory on that because it's a sample. So today we'll just do a commission check. I'll stay with the IV here. Do a create.
Another question, Brian. Is it common to have attachments added with a blank in the tag column?
So thank you. So there's arguments between some of our customers and us on whether to show the tags. So basically all the search tags are essentially attachments. I'm a proponent of just simply hiding them, but some people use them to look up stuff. So look for some changes there. They're probably going to disappear again because that's what I want to see. But yeah, basically the search tags are implemented as a data structure that's essentially an attachment inside of OASIS. And they do appear there for historical reasons, but I'm wanting them to go away. So I hope I answered the question well for them. Any other questions? All right, let's go ahead and do the payment real quick. Getting a little tight on time here. So check number. So I'll say check 2025. So put in whatever your check number is. How much do you expect to get off of this thing? So let's go ahead and put in our $100 here. And it'll track the differences and everything like that. We do have a CSS issue here, so I apologize. But you can use it to do the old scan thing where you can set those and just do a rescan, scan all the open invoices out there. I like putting in the invoice number and the amount paid. That's just kind of the way I do things. And then you can put in your $100 or whatever it is you received on it, and then click set or hit enter. That's the way I personally like to do it because I'm usually looking at another screen where there's the PDF or the Excel spreadsheet. Of course, with Excel spreadsheet, you can just do a load from XLS or CSV. That works here as well, which is kind of neat. But if you just have a PDF, I just invoice paid, and you can kind of see out of the corner of your eye when it says couldn't find it. But anyway, that popped it in there. At this point, I'm looking just like I would on any other commission check to make sure, did it close the order? Did it close the invoice? It looks like it's not. The reason why is it expected $30 more or $36 more. At that point, I can go and dispute it and move on to the next thing. So anyway, it's going to go in there and I got to do more on that. So anyway, good for that. Let's go ahead and just post it. By the way, my difference was 0. That was the other thing I like looking at. So yes, I want to post it, and in true OASIS form, we do move that so you just don't go click real quick. And that's it. Okay, we went through, I'm going to go back to the main screen here. We went through, and I apologize for the rush on this. I'm just trying to get it all out there, trying to show it moves all the way through. showed the one bug, a couple other minor things that we always are looking at, but that we're going to be open and honest about where we're at on all this in there because it is a very complex system. There are a ton of features in Oasis. Every time I forget one, customers real quickly to remind me about the little click that you do on such and such screen that has been around forever. And anyway, that's exactly what we're going to continue to do. So what's next? The only major missing applications that we're identifying are many of the older reports. There's just a lot of good reports in Oasis that are older. So we're going through those one at a time and making them meet. We're trying to update them is the best way to explain it. And you'll see that appear both in the updated desktop version and the updated online version as we go through that process. The inventory application is the only major app that's missing from the online version, and I have a couple of customers who are really mad at me right now because they want the inventory set up properly inside of the desktop, or I'm sorry, the online version, and it opens a few other doors that I won't go through here. But anyway, look for those as we go throughout this next year. The inventory application be rolled out, and then just a whole series of enhancements to older reports that'll appear both in the desktop version and the online version. Okay. We never stop in enhancing Oasis, and that's what I was trying to get to a moment ago. The performance updates, we got some big ones that we're rolling out because we found some stuff this week that are going to go out to projects, among other things. So we're always looking for feedback from users. Sometimes y'all are not very happy when things go sideways, but bring it on. That's what we're looking for. So performance updates, continuous UI UX updates. There's still a lot of areas where I think it's a little rough, but we have a team here that's going through and they're making it real pretty as we go forward through the various updates. So look for all those to change. The only fear I have on some of their pretty updates is sometimes it gets hard to figure out what they're trying to do because I think they get too frou-frou. But anyway, we're working with customers as we go through that process to make sure that we don't make it super pretty and hard to use. We want it super pretty and easy to use. All right, and a whole bunch of new features rolling out for this coming year. That's what I had for today. Are there any other questions? All right. I apologize for the rush there. I just tried to pack an entire day's worth of conversation into 1 hour, just to give you an overview on the
We have a late question. Desktop version is desktop version always sync?
So yes, and the other thing that we're testing with a few customers is I call it the global lock manager. So what it does is if you're in a transaction, let's say online, and then you're using the desktop version and someone tries to get into the desktop version of the same, let's say, quote, it'll say, no, you can't do that because Bob is online with it. And you tell Bob to get out so you can go into it. And then it'll basically protect, make sure the update gets to you before you start editing. So but yeah, the desktop version is synced to the online version, and the global lock manager we can turn on, and that'll protect between the two systems. And actually protect between two different offices too. We have some people with multiple offices, multiple databases, and it helps with that as well. Any other
Then,
questions?
yes, is there a chat GPT tool within the online version? Does
Yes.
this work, and what does this do for Oasis?
Let me see if they put it in there. I can't remember. I think they did. Let me go into edit here. Chat GPT. Okay, so what we did inside of Chat GPT, there's actually a webinar on this, so I'll just kind of point at it for today. So first thing you can do is you can drag and drop into the bill of material in other places, and it'll scan a lot of quotes. Basically, it turns it into text, so it can just drop in the bill of material. So there's a lot of neat stuff there. Again, a whole webinar on that and a couple of videos online too. The Chat GPT side, we can do a market analysis on that. And what it does, it takes your project information. So the vertical market needs to be filled out and a few other things. And it'll go through and say, okay, well, the market for hospitals, let's say in lighting is this. And it'll give you basically a review or rundown of what ChatGPT knows about that in your area, which is kind of neat. Crossover, it'll use ChatGPT for crossing over an item at a time. Works pretty good on that. So you could start with ABC's XYZ fixture, and it'll actually try to figure out or use ChatGPT to figure out your bill of material on that. And there's details on that we can get into. Suggest alternate, basically just trying to doing an alternate for one of your products. So one of your items to another one of your items made with a different factory. Okay. And then I don't know if anybody knows what a SWOT is, but it's going to take a look at an item and say whether it'll identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats associated with that one item. Basically, trying to see how it appears in the market that you're in out there. And again, use ChatGPT and what it knows out there. And then rewrite quote notes. I like this one because it'll actually go through and whatever you have in your notes section on there. Sorry, notes here. It'll actually take and make it a little nicer. So if you're a little mad, you can go ahead and write what you want and then go ahead and use ChatGPT to clean it up. So anyway, in a nutshell, that's what it does. There's a little more online on that and then a whole webinar we have on it. If you have more questions, we can roll through that with you with the help desk. So send them your questions there. Any other questions?
No late ads.
All right. I really, really do appreciate everyone's time on this. Listen to me talk about OASIS. I get excited about it and I tend to go a little quick, but there you have it. We're here if you have questions and have a good day. Thank you.